What my parents did and what I'll probably replicate, because I think it was a great idea, is they did give us a certain amount of money, a small amount of money every single month that went into that checking account that we had a debit card and checks for. And then if we wanted any money above that, it was up to us. And it was a pretty small amount because I think mom and dad were like forcing us to get jobs. Like if you want to go to the movies every weekend, you're not going to have enough. Or if you want to go shopping, you're not going to have enough. Like you're going to have to find some supplemental income. And mom and dad also made us open up our own businesses.
What?
So,
you had a business?
I know. I mean, it was like a snack business at my dad's office. And my sister and I, are you ready for this? We called it Your Integrity Snacks because it wasn't like a vending machine. They had to like pay and take the snack. Oh, yeah. So we did that for a year.
Wait, you were hustling snacks at your dad's office?
We were hustling snacks, competing with the vending machines. It was something.
So this one is for all of you who have been asking me, how do we teach our kids to handle money? Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Paula Ferris Show. I'm your host, Paula. We are going to get to this conversation in just a second, but I want to say thank you to all of you who have been recommending for me and my family to watch the Netflix show called Love on the Spectrum. I know I'm a little late to the party with this one. It is the sweetest show about people on the autism spectrum who are trying to find love. And when I tell you that my family loves it, my family loves it. And that is hard to do when you have kids that are in elementary school, kids that are in high school, but we are obsessed with this show. I'm not getting paid by the show. I just wanted to say it's a great show. It's a show you can watch with your family. It's a show you can binge. I might sound stuffy because I was just crying watching the show. I just love these characters. I love the storylines. I love everything about it. So if you're looking for a family-friendly watch, Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. I can't recommend it enough. I did mention the show in my personal newsletter, which goes out every couple of weeks, one of my favorites. I also gave away 5 copies of the book, How to Stop Losing Your You-Know-What with Your Kids by Dr. Carla Naumburg, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. So a reminder to you to sign up for my personal newsletter at paulaferrisofficial.com if you're not already receiving it. All right, let us jump into today's episode. And maybe you're still recovering from last week's episode with Dr. Ken Wilgus talking about planned emancipation. You heard me nearly having a panic attack during that conversation, but I'm happy to report I have fully recovered. And I actually really, really love Dr. Ken Wilgus's method. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Share it with all your parent friends out there because God knows we need all the help that we can get. All right. Again, this episode is for all of you who've been asking me, Paula, how do we teach our kids about money? So you know what I decided to do? I decided to bring on an expert who just happens to be my friend. Her name is Rachel Cruze. She is part of the Ramsey Solutions family. She's also the daughter of the Dave Ramsey, and she is going to be answering all your questions about how we teach our kids about allowance and hustles and hard-earned money and those lessons when it comes to money. Listen to this. Did you know that some states are now requiring financial literacy classes? And did you know that Denmark, the country, has mandatory financial education for students ages 13 to 15? This blew me away. They have a 71% financial literacy rate in the country of Denmark. That's one of the highest globally, but their teens are taught budgeting, saving, banking, consumer rights. So Denmark's way up here with a financial literacy rate, but globally, only 33% of the global population is considered financially literate. And that can be equated to wealth inequality and even life expectancy. So we need to teach our kids how to handle money. So without further ado, here's my very good friend, Rachel Cruze, talking about allowances, hustles, and hard truths about raising money smart kids. And make sure you stick around to my takeaways after the conversation. Here's Rachel. It's so good to see you, friend.
I know. It's so good to see you.
We haven't done one of these in a while. I feel like I need to schedule you on the podcast in order to catch up. So
isn't that sad?
It's sad. We both
we'll fly some texts here and there in life, but
I know. But this is a conversation, so it's basically just you and I having a conversation, and then everyone else is invited to just eavesdrop. I think
let's talk about it, Paula.
Let's talk about it.
Like what it says above your head.
Do you like Barbara Corcoran? I just got done interviewing her and she's like, let's talk about it. And I was like, she knows and I was like, oh, it's the neon light behind me.
There it is.
Yes,
right
there it is. And speaking of behind you, the third book in your kids' book trilogy just came out. I'm glad.
It did. Yes. I'm glad when I can share. So I wanted to write kids' books about not just the tactical side of money, but like the emotional side. So the first one was contentment. The second one was gratitude. And then this one is generosity.
I love that. Can you write a kids series on financial literacy? How I can learn about money, please?
Go real tactical. Yes, we can.
Real tactical. So I saw something probably like 9 months ago about Denmark. And of course, I'm not going to compare our country to Denmark. They have their own issues too. But it said Denmark has mandatory financial education for students ages 13 to 15, Rachel. And they cover budgeting, savings, banking, consumer rights, and more. The program has been in place for almost 10 years. They have a 71% financial literacy rate amongst their young adults, which is one of the highest globally. Why aren't we teaching this stuff mandatory in our country?
I know. Well, some states are now legislating. There's legislation that has been passed for financial literacy to be a credit for when you graduate, a graduation credit.
Right.
And then I just left a meeting where they were updating this, and I think it's up to 22 states right now. But it can be between, econ, personal finance. There's like some squishiness around it, but they're saying by 2030, all 50 states will have a level of mandated financial literacy.
Who's they?
Because
who's they? You said they're saying. Who's saying?
Yes, Department of Education, like all the.
So like the big people in charge.
Yes, and there's people that are pushing this legislation within these states and within these educational boards. And so there is a group that came out, and that was the quote that they said. So it may not be like the top of the top.
Right.
I can't remember that group was called, but that's what I just heard in the last meeting that I just left. They said in 2030, their goal is to have, all 50 states. So we'll see. But I agree with you. And I think it's lacking. And then what ends up happening too, which is always difficult with education is, even though they are getting an education, is it the right way to handle money, or is it going to lead them down a path of destruction too? So there has to be a common sense approach. And the home environment, I still believe, is such a huge part of influence with our kids and every part of life, but money as well. But also when you compare it, that you're hearing, this from a teacher and from a third party when you're a teenager is huge. So that is our hope. And we have a high school curriculum. We graduated our 6 millionth student in it. So we've had curriculum in schools all across America for a decade now.
That's amazing.
Maybe close to 15 years. So so we're pushing the education market for sure here at Ramsey because we just know how vital it is. Because people always say, if I knew this at 18, I would have made totally different decisions, throughout college, throughout my 20s, and you would be in a different place financially. So it's huge.
I tell my kids, I'm like, if you just start putting a little bit of money away now, it's just going to snowball. But I grew up with the envelope system, and I know that's still very popular in your household and with Ramsey circles. I'm terrible with cash though, so had to do away with the envelope system. But my parents were very instrumental, Rachel, in teaching me the value of $1. My weekly chores would amount to $1, or my allowance, I should say. Even when my allowance was $1, I put 10 cents in. It gave 10 cents to God, and I put like 20 cents in savings. And then I had all these random envelopes, but it taught me the value of $1. And I can't say, like, my parents instilling those basic foundational principles have really helped me today. Not that I'm great at budgeting, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But so I had the listeners and viewers solicit some questions about this topic. Ron wants to know, at what age should we start teaching our kids about money? Like, what specifically should we start with?
So really, you can start as young as 3 and 4. I mean, it's very age appropriate, obviously. But, they can start to understand very simple things. And again, when they're that young, realizing, okay, if I pick up some toys with mom and dad's help, then maybe mom and dad decide, hey, we're going to pay you on this. And we're going to, and especially that young, 3, 4, 5, 6, having things that are visual. So this is where cash does come in handy when they're that young, because they visually can start to see their money pile up. And so at that age, I probably wouldn't recommend splitting it. It's like, you've learned this basic foundational principle that money comes from work, right? So that's number one. And then as they get a little bit older, then that's when you can really transition exactly what you did. I mean, this is what I tell parents, is to divide it up into 3 categories: giving, saving, and spending. And through the elementary school, middle school years, I think that's great. And I think having chores that you do as part of the family that you don't get paid is important, but also having the ones that you do pay. And some parents hate that because they're like, well, they should just do it because they're part of the household.
Yeah, seriously, kids, you're lucky to have a roof over your head. I'm like a hard stance on that.
I know. And I totally get it. But, there are things that they can do to provide value to the household. Find some chores that you pay them on. Because I do think there's something to learn from sacrifice, from grit, understanding, okay, I have to do something that I may not want to do, but I'm doing it. And when I do that, the reward in return is money. And the way that I give that money, save that money, spend that money as a kid feels different after I've earned it versus mom and dad just handing it over, right? So there's kind of that way. And now there's apps and different things that you can do that are more cashless for kids. So that's an option. But then when they get to be teenagers, I do tell parents, open up a student checking account under your name and let them start understanding that, you have to balance, you have to know how much is in this account, having a debit card, and them actually going through the process and the motions of it, I think is really important because when they go out on their own, whether it's 18, 21, you want to go through all those small mistakes that you make when you first start to learn this stuff under the roof of your parents, where it's really inexpensive mistakes versus the first time you handle money on your own. You're 22, getting an income from your first job, and you're trying to figure out, how all this works.
Exactly. So wait a second. So when they're really young, use cash just to show them kind of the value of a dollar. A dollar is earned through work. And those 3 buckets, which you said are giving, saving, and spending. I like you just kept it simple. You weren't like giving, saving, food, clothes, my nails, just keep it simple, right? Yes. And then when they're a little bit older, like Landon, our youngest, is 10 and he has a debit card. He doesn't know his PIN though. And it's through our bank. So it's like one of the kids' first debit cards, but he gets an allowance. He can see his balance and he has to buy things. Like, I'm like, okay, if you want that Roblox skin or whatever it is, you got to pay for it, and he sees the money coming out. And then when they're a little bit older, so we have the 2 older kids that are in high school, you said take out a student checking account. So are they actually writing checks here? Because they also have the first bank, whatever. I don't know.
I think the idea is a debit card.
They also have debit cards.
Exactly. It's that. It's just that. Yeah. Okay. The checking account is just the idea that they can see their own balance.
Okay.
And know how much is in there and be able to get money out. So the debit card is the way you would do it. Back in our day, Paula, there were checks and I'd write checks to Hollister at the mall. When I was a teenager.
I still have a checkbook. Like, should we be teaching our kids how to write checks, or do you think they're going to be non-existent in the next 5-10 years?
They'll probably be non-existent, but I think it's probably a good skill to have, right? Understanding that. Yeah. And when they get to be teenagers, mom and dad, they were pretty great at explaining some more of the complicated money stuff, just so we understood, like compound interest, investing. Like, what does this look like? What is even putting your money in the market? What does that even mean? Mom and dad would show us even bills sometimes of like, hey, here's how much cable costs. Here are the lights. Like, to actually get this grasp of reality, because when you live in a bubble and there's none of that, again, reality just hits really hard and you usually make some mistakes. But when you can go in with enough knowledge and understanding and practice, I think that's what's key. So
you think this should be something that is taught like at age 3? Like right at the beginning, ages 2 and 3, as soon as you can, teach them the value of money.
Yeah. And again, this is really in the ebb and flow of life. This isn't sitting down with your 3-year-old and having a 5-hour seminar on a Saturday, right? Like, this is understanding, okay, do you want that? Well, let's talk about how much that costs and let's see what we can save up, right? It's just this idea of this back and forth. And honestly, those young years, hearing no is a great lesson, right? To say like, oh, I want that. And for a parent to be able to say, hey, we have to put up a boundary there, and no, we're not going to buy that. Even that simple, I think is big today. Because what's so difficult, and we fall into this, is the ease now, the convenience of buying stuff, whether it's through Amazon or whatever. It's Apple Pay. We can buy things so quickly. What I got in a bad habit of doing is like, the girls were like, we need new markers. I'm like, oh, okay, let me just go on Amazon and they'll be here in 2 days. Like, I'll just sit there and they see no transaction. Things just appear and there's no conversation around it. I just fix the issue really quickly because it's easy on my end. And so having to slow that down as a parent and really understanding delayed gratification. Hey, let's look at this. How much is this? There's 4 sets of markers here. Let's figure out the cheapest one because you're probably going to lose half of them, right? At least having dialogue around it.
Yep.
Especially when they're little is great.
Yeah. Mary M says, my kids are having to get their taxes done now from their part-time jobs. Why don't kids graduate from high school knowing any of this? It's a basic need for becoming adults. Work means getting taxes done or else going to jail. LOL. She's like, why are we giving study hall options instead of learning about these topics? Like, what's a 101 way to teach your kids about taxes? And again, it all falls under this financial literacy, budgeting bucket.
That's right. Well, I'm not a big stickler, depending on how much money they're making, right? I mean, yeah, if they're babysitting once a month or something like that, I wouldn't be legalistic.
Take that cash and run, girl.
Yeah, that's right. Got to file that taxes. But when you do that as a parent, though, one thing mom and dad did with us is we had to have part-time jobs, and they kept tabs of our hours, because even a small thing like this, parents, when you file a tax return for on your kids, right? And this is what she's saying. Then you have options like opening up a Roth IRA. You can only put in so much of that earned income, but you can actually start doing things with your teenagers in their name, which is great, because we talked about how money grows so quickly the earlier you start. So it's all of that. But again, I think it's all around the conversation of understanding, gross versus net. And if they have jobs with an employer, they're going to see that. I mean, that was me. I had a job at the mall, and I remember getting my first paycheck and being like, oh my gosh, how much is taken out of taxes? Like, you kind of get hit with the real world. So while I love entrepreneurship, and I babysat and like did all this other stuff, but actually working for a legitimate employer for maybe just a summer, right? And maybe, they have their own thing going after that. But I think there's lessons to be learned there. And again, the earlier 1000%. You learn it, it's the best.
Did you work at Hollister? Because you said you were writing checks to Hollister.
I worked at Libby Lou. Did y'all ever have a Libby Lou?
What's Libby Lou?
I know. It was this like small thing within Dillard's department store where girls came and like got their hair done and like their makeup done, but it was very like rock star, like Lizzie McGuire style, glitter and like all the things, and they got to get their hair done. So little girls would come for like birthday parties. That's so fun. This feels very Rachel, by the way. I know. That's where I worked, and then I realized I don't make a lot of money working here, so I'm going to go babysit and make twice as much. Yeah, seriously, and it's cash. It's like it's kind of under the table. Although when I babysat, I was making $3 an hour. I remember I had this job. It was 6 hours a day. I made $18 a day because it was $3 an hour, but I saved my money. So you're a big proponent of kids having a part-time job beginning age 16. I know here in South Carolina, you can work 15 in some places. Yeah. I mean, I'm not legalistic about the age in it. And I think there's probably seasons, ebb and flow, right? I'm not a big stickler of like, oh my gosh, you have to do this at this age. But there is something to be said about having to prioritize your time. Yeah. And even though I know sports is like a huge thing for families now, and homework has even gotten like crazy for a lot of, like I understand there's all these other pools, but there's something to be said of like, okay, yeah, I can't go do this because I have to earn. So what my parents did, and what I'll probably replicate, because I think it was a great idea, is they did give us a certain amount of money, a small amount of money every single month that went into that checking account that we had a debit card and checks for. And then if we wanted any money above that, it was up to us. And it was a pretty small amount, because I think mom and dad were like forcing us to get jobs. Like if you want to go to the movies every weekend, you're not going to have enough. Or if you want to go shopping, you're not going to have enough. Like you're going to have to find some supplemental income. And mom and dad also made us open up our own businesses. What? So, you had a business? I know. I mean, it was like a snack business at my dad's office. And my sister and I, are you ready for this? We called it Your Integrity Snacks, because it wasn't like a vending machine. They had to like pay and take the snack. Oh yeah. So we did that for a year. Wait, you were hustling snacks at your dad's office? We were hustling snacks, competing with the vending machines. It was something. So you had to come up with a business plan. Yeah, he made us come up with a business and actually work it out. Yeah, he didn't hold us to it. It was about a year. And then he's like, okay, you can go do what you want. But Denise and I were there. We had to go to Costco and get those sodas and snacks and refill and restock after school. Did you make any money? Did you make decent money? Yeah, it wasn't bad. Okay. Yeah. But I do not like crazy. I mean, I'm still working, so it didn't like send me into retirement or anything. Okay. Wait, what was it called? Integrity Snacks? Your Integrity Snacks. Your Integrity Snacks. Your integrity's on the line. You got to pay. You got to put that money in that bucket. Okay, so I do like that principle, though, of just giving them a certain amount, because
hey, you're not quite at this stage yet. Your kids are real young. How old are they? Just for everybody.
974 or 975 just had a birthday.
When you start getting those Venmo requests, right?
I can't
or
imagine.
Your kids are playing travel sports, or they're just
yeah.
playing school sports, and they're like, well, the whole team's going out to dinner afterwards, and it's like, I have to help pay for that stuff too, so
Sure.
But I like the principle of giving them a certain amount each month. You use it, you lose it. Not you use it, lose it. It's there, but just use it wisely. And when it's gone, it's gone. And then you have to earn it.
Yep. That's
or
exactly
figure it out. You got to hustle. You got to come up with a snack business and guilt people into buying Costco snacks from you.
Yes.
Right?
And I think what I worry about for my kids, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it is, but I do have this fear that they're not going to have the grit and the perseverance out in the world.
1,000%.
And so there's something about that hustle of like, it's not fun. And I'm not going to make your life miserable as a teenager. It's not that, but you need to taste a little bit of struggle and pain. And understanding like this is a small dose of reality. And I don't want to shield you completely from it because I just don't think that's good for you. One of my favorite parenting quotes from Andy Andrews, he said, we're not just trying to raise good kids. We're trying to raise kids who become good adults.
That's
so
good.
What am I doing to prepare you for adulthood? And I think that's a little bit of that filter. You run it through because I'm like, man, I want you guys to, and I had a great, I don't know about you, Paula, and maybe times have changed too, but all my friends have part-time jobs. I mean, they were working at Sonic and Smoothie King and
we were
babysitting. I mean,
hustlers.
Yeah. I mean, everybody worked. And so again, maybe they still do. I don't have teenagers, so I don't know, but there is that part that I'm like,
I will say it's so different now because, and I'm very careful. Look, I mean, we grew up with very little, there are 6 of us in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. Like but we had everything we needed and we didn't need a ton. Right.
Sure.
But that was always, instilled in us to work hard. And I think part of it is that immigrant culture too. You grew up in an Lebanese family, we're immigrants, we're American now and we are working our way up. But my kids, like their schedules don't really allow it, which is bananas to me. So Caroline's super involved and she plays school sports. So she has practice every day after school. And then she goes right into travel season. And then there's going to be a time, in the spring, she's going to be playing 2 sports, travel volleyball and track and field, in addition to everything else she's got going on junior year. I want my kids to have a job because again, I think they learn that grit and the resiliency and the hustle and to the value of $1, but creating time and space for that,
so difficult.
It's like one more thing you're putting on their plate. So I'm trying to get inventive and think like, okay, you're going to get an allowance, but here's some things you can do around the house or like odd jobs.
Totally.
Things are really different now, Rachel, not to sound doom and gloom. I'm just like, I'm trying to get creative here as a parent. And I want them to play sports because I think they learn valuable lessons playing sports. Like it's not about you. It's about being a teammate and being resilient. So I'm struggling.
Yeah, no, and it is hard. It's a balancing act. And that's the thing is I'm like, there's just something that has shifted and changed, I think, since we were, teenagers. And so it is, I guess, laying out the pieces of you as a whole person. How can I get you as a whole person as best as I can when you leave? And that may look all different ways, right? I mean, this money piece, it is one avenue, one small piece of the whole picture of who they are. But what are those things we can put into place, these realities we can show them and teach them and let them feel a level of whether it is sacrifice or, delayed gratification, not getting what you want when you want it. Like, a level of that, I do think is healthy. And how you implement that would be family by family.
Yeah. And it's tough. You and I are both in different situations now than we were when we grew up. We can give our kids a lot more than we had, but I don't want them to be entitled and I don't want them to take it for granted. So it's that balancing act. You'd be proud of me though. So Caroline, my oldest, she's 17 and we both have Carolines. She's working for me because I'm basically, I'm an entrepreneur. So yes, so I have a personal newsletter that goes out. By the way, big plug for my personal newsletter. If you want to sign up at paulaferrisofficial.com, she's building my newsletter. Okay. So I write it, but she helps to build it. She helps out with socials. My son wants to start editing videos for me. He's 15. So they are entrepreneurial minded. I don't know if you can do this if you're like a 9-to-5, W-2 employee, but if you're W-9 or you're an independent contractor like me, you can put your kids to work, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's what we did. I mean, we went in the summers and would ship books in the shipping department at the office. There are things that you can do. And it is a great opportunity. And that's where I'm like, yeah, and that's perfect.
And I can write a portion. I can write, I think, okay, don't quote me on this, but I can write quite a bit off of their salary. And then I can also then use that for an IRA.
So yes, I was going to say, you can use their taxable income when they work for you for that, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I just want to put them to work now. I'm like, what could they do? Because they're very capable, and like their editing skills are incredible. And Caroline is just
totally.
I was so impressed with her. I didn't realize like how smart she is. She's very book smart, and she can grasp complex subjects much more than her mother can. Like I have to read it 7 times and I'm like, I still don't understand this. Somebody please draw a picture and talk about it with me, and then I can understand it. I'm more like a kinesthetic learner. But she started building my newsletter because I had someone else building it, and she went on maternity leave, and I was like, and she wanted to just, kind of like scale back on her work. So I was like, maybe I can have Caroline do it. And she picked it up like that. I couldn't believe it. Like these amazing. Kids are so tech savvy.
So, right? Oh my gosh. That's good. Paula, good for you.
Let me give myself a pat on the back.
I know. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Let's talk real quick. By the way, Diane Rodriguez says, this is going to be great. It's so important that we're talking about it. Debbie says, I have one graduating college, so financial consulting is a concern right now. He sees the salary, needs to understand expenses that will come with it, and will dwindle fast. What would you tell Debbie? I mean, her son's a grown adult. He has graduated college, and just now, like, that's on him. He's an adult. How would you address Debbie, and not beyond, well, it's your son, he's got to figure it out? Is there anything that she in the right direction?
Yeah, especially him starting out. I mean, I think it'd be a fair question to ask him, hey, do you want me to sit down and help kind of like, let's do a mock budget and just figure out with the salary, your take home pay after taxes and insurance. Here's a reality of like, okay, here's probably the rent we want to look at percentage wise, 25-ish, 30%. Food is probably gonna be here, and ask him if she can come along and just help him start off doing a mock budget, together. That's probably what I would do for sure.
Yeah. You just
to get him started. But and then that is the hard thing when they become adults, they start living their life, and then you start to get into that whole parenting dynamic that if they don't ask for your help or ask your opinion, where you stepping in as a parent is difficult too.
Yeah, but we've got to let them fail a little bit. They got to figure it out on their own too.
For sure. I think that is one of the difficult things that we hear over and over again. I feel like on the Ramsey show too, is this balancing act of helping your kids or your loved ones. I mean, anybody versus enabling. And that it's a tricky line. And I think the problem is for so many of that generation that a lot of them have moved back home, which always, I'm not one of these that's like, you can never move back home. But totally. They start to be taken care of to a degree that what ends up happening, it ends up harming them long term, right? And having the character to build and have to make decisions and have to problem solve and do things they don't want to do, but it's within their means. I mean, like all of that, I think is so key, and especially those early stages of your career. And learning, holy crap, life's expensive, and I did have it good when I was living at home. And
seriously,
now
my mom and dad were pretty awesome. Yeah. You said the B word, budget, and we're going to get to that in just one moment, but let's wrap this. Ebony Woods Jordan has a question. What are the best ways to save for a college fund for kids, kind of in this financial literacy bucket?
Yes. So there's 2 main buckets for college planning. There's the ESA, which is the Educational Savings Account, and you can put up to $2,000 a year in that. It grows tax-free, which is fantastic. There is an income limit. I think if you're a joint filer, within a household, it's $190,000. If you make over that, you don't qualify for the ESA. And I think it's $95,000 if you're a single filer. So there's an income limit, and you can only put $2,000 a year in it. But that's a great option. And then the other option, which a lot of people do, is just the 529. And this is the basic kind of college savings. And there's some prepaid tuition ones. There's some ones that are like very specific within the 529 overlay, which I don't recommend. I think really just getting with a great financial planner and saying, what kind of investments should we put under the 529 is important. And then I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, the Biden administration passed, which was fantastic, a bill that if you have a 529 open for 15 years, you can transfer up to $35,000 from that 529 to a Roth IRA in the beneficiary's name.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Really?
So if they don't use it all, because that is the thing with 529s and ESAs, it is stuck in that educational bucket. You can move it between family members and stuff. There is some leeway there, But it is for educational purposes. So if you end up getting a scholarship or something, but you have money in this 529 and no other kid is going to college, or you can't use it for other family members, up to $35,000, you can move to a Roth IRA.
I'm so glad you told me that, because we had been putting money towards 529. And then we realized, well, what if our kids get a scholarship, or what if one needs more money than the other? And we're like, so we just went a different route, but I didn't know that was transferable. So Rachel, you're so smart. It's almost like you worked in money and finance for a living, which you do. Rachel is so much fun and has a ton of knowledge on this subject, and she breaks it down in a really relatable way. She's going to actually be back next week, kind of a part 2 to this conversation about easy budgeting for families, simple systems to get your money back on track. And because I know finances are a huge strain on families and relationships. All right, you guys, are you ready for my takeaways? I thought this was so cool. She said that by 2030, all 50 states will have some level of mandated financial literacy. But again, so much of it has to start in the home. What she said about giving kids cash when they're little and young, because they can see that cash stack up and they can see the money grow. And then when they're a little bit older, getting a checking account, going over the utility bills, I thought was brilliant, so that they can see where all that money is going. And then dividing the money really into 3 buckets: giving, saving, and spending. It was just bringing me back to my days of my childhood where I had the envelope system. I literally got $1 a week, you guys. And I would put 10 cents into one envelope and 10 cents into another and 20 cents into another. I had so many envelopes, by the way. But it was so cool for me to not only learn how to budget, but to see that money grow. One thing that I can't overstate enough is that they need to have some sweat equity. You cannot hand everything to them. That's not how they're going to learn. They need to be invested. They need to have a job and kind of figure it out. If you're giving them so much money that they don't need to get a job, then we're actually doing them a disservice. And I have to call myself out on that as well. I thought what she had to say about saving for college was really helpful too. There's the ESA, which is an educational savings account. You can put up to $2,000 a year in that, and it grows tax-free, but there is an income limit. And then the 529B, which is saving for college tuition. We've been doing that for a long time. I had no idea that the Biden administration a couple of years ago said that if you have a 529 open for 15 years, you can transfer up to $35,000 of that from your 529 to a Roth IRA in the beneficiary's name. I had no idea, because I was thinking here, what if my kids get a scholarship? Then what do I do with the money? So that was really helpful advice from Rachel. Again, Rachel's coming back next week. We're going to be talking about easy budgeting for families. And this is important. I want you guys to know it is a no judgment zone, because John and I are terrible. And when I say terrible, I mean we are terrible at budgeting. It is a absolute no judgment zone. Rachel's going to make a case for why budgeting is important and some simple steps that all of us can do as we're trying to figure it out with our families. That's next week as we keep talking about it on the show. We'll see you then. Don't forget, watch Love on the Spectrum. You won't regret it. Literal favorite show. Can't believe it's taken me this long to figure out how good it is. See you next week. I know. You guys thought you were done with me, but not quite yet. I have one more thing to tell you about. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to the show. I don't want you to miss a single beat or a single conversation. And remember, my DMs are always open. Tell me what you want to talk about.